This is major breaking news. They are now announcing carbon passports. Carbon passports are now being announced, and travel restrictions are being proposed as well. They are also proposing brand new maps for America. They're calling this, quote, a new map for America. All right, and they're going to section off the country and only allow you to travel and use the infrastructure in certain regions of the country. All right, all this stuff is coming very soon, and they are now announcing these carbon passports and these carbon credits as well. And they're saying that you are going to have to drastically reduce your consumption. All right, they're saying that the average American's consumption is over 5 times as much as what it's supposed to be, according to the agreements that they have in place and according to their agenda that they're pushing forward. So you need to, according to them, this is the plan that's being announced, this dystopian plan, you will have to reduce your consumption, your electricity, your carbon output by at least 5x reduced. All right, this is major. This is going to be life changing, and this is also going to be tied into the CBDC, the central banking digital currency, that's coming very soon as well. It's going to piggyback off of this. All right, it's all connected, and it's all a giant control grid. And of course they would have a new map of America, because that is exactly what a conquering force would do. They would produce a new map and new regions. They're calling these mega regions. All right, and they're saying that this is how they're going to set up the country, and you are going to be locked into these regions and only be able to travel certain areas if your credits allow it. All right, this is coming out of mainstream news right now. CNN is reporting this right now, coming out of CNN. All right, we're going to break down all this stuff. So when you know what's coming out of them, they're ready to normalize this. They're trying to push this agenda and saying that it's go time. This is going to happen very soon. All right, this is what they do. These things are talked about a lot. All right, we kind of bring it to a head by, these videos are part of it. You guys commenting, you guys spreading this stuff, it's a part of it. All right, and these ideas kind of come to a head where they have to admit that they are real, and they just have to go ahead with it because it's go time or not. All right, so we need to push back and say no to this hard right now. Say we do not consent. We do not consent to this carbon credit system that's going to be tied to your digital ID and your digital wallet and the central banking digital currency as well. We do not consent to this, and this is going to be life altering for all Americans. All right, so let's dive into what CNN is reporting. All right, this is coming out of their official website and everything. This is just mind-boggling that they're proposing this idea. We'll break down all the numbers here and see how your life is going to have to change. And also we will dive into this map that was posted by the New York Times. The New York Times posted this map. It's called a new map for America, and the country is being divided up into 7 mega regions. 7 different mega regions. We're going to dive into that and see exactly what they have planned for us, as they're there as well too. All right, so let's get into the CNN article, and then we will get into that next and just extrapolate as well. What is this going to cover? This is going to cover every aspect of your life, your food consumption, your driving, your transportation especially. That's the first thing they want to target right now, and especially air travel. If you have seen, if you've booked any type of flights recently, all right, I had to book a flight for some family members a few months ago, all right, because we were out west and our family came out to see us, and there were carbon emissions on every single ticket. Every single flight had a different emissions amount on it, and it was telling you what your CO2 emissions are. They already have this infrastructure in place. They're already tracking and tracing, and soon it'll be, you can only use a certain amount. You've used it up, right? You can only have so many trips, and it's your allowance. That's what this article is saying. All right, so let's dive into this and go look it up right now. I'll even show it here on Google, if you look up flights, it shows your carbon emissions. All right, they're ready for this stuff, and they're ready to clamp down on it as well. We also had Biden just a few months ago. I made a whole video on it. He was talking about declaring a national emergency for the climate, a climate emergency. All right, and this is part of it all. This is part of the clampdown, and they're now normalizing these carbon passports. So here's the article out of CNN. Then we will get to this New York Times new map of America as well. This stuff is like, this is dystopian, and this is like a foreign entity coming in and remapping and redoing our entire country from the inside out. All right, that's what this feels like, a takeover from the inside out. But this is coming out of CNN Travel. Here's the article. It's time to limit how often we can travel abroad. Quote, carbon passports may be the answer. All right, this was an article out of CNN just a few weeks ago. And this is officially from CNN. This is the article here. What is a carbon passport? It says the idea of a carbon passport centers on each traveler being assigned a yearly carbon allowance that they cannot exceed. These allowances can then, quote, ration travel. This concept may seem extreme, but the idea of personal carbon allowances is not new. A similar concept called the personal carbon trading was discussed in the UK Parliament in 2008 before being shut down because of its perceived complexity and the possibility of public resistance. Yeah, there should be resistance. We do not consent to this. I do not want this. The average annual carbon footprint for a person in the US is 16 tons. This is their official stuff that they're saying here, and they're saying you need to reduce it. 16 tons, one of the highest rates in the world. In the UK, this figure sits at 11.7 tons, still more than 5 times the figure recommended by the Paris Agreement to keep global temperatures rise below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. So that is the official narrative coming out of CNN, and I actually downgraded it. All right, the US is actually probably at 6 to 7 times the allowance. The UK is at 5 times the allowance. So you are going to only be allowed to use about 2.2 tons of carbon allowances, carbon emissions per year. 2.2, and the average in the US is 16. So you're going to have to reduce your food, your travel, your consumption, your driving. Every single thing is going to be tied to this carbon allowance in our society. Your electricity usage, every single thing is going to be tied to this. And they are setting this up and normalizing this right now. And they even said there was public resistance before in 2008, but they think they can get away with it now. And they are really going to try to push this hardcore. All right, so this is coming out of CNN right now, and they're saying that we need these carbon allowances, and they're saying specifically they need to do it as soon as possible for traveling to Europe. All right, they need to restrict Americans traveling abroad. All right, that's exactly what they're most concerned about, and they're targeting right now. All right, this is an attack on your freedom, on your freedom of movement. All right, your freedom to go to whatever country you want, and eventually your freedom to even leave these regions. All right, check out this map that was posted by the New York Times. All right, this is an official New York Times map, and it's called a new map for America. This was posted a few years ago, and they're talking about how they want to segment off the country into these 7 mega regions. All right, just look at this map. It says how the lower 48 could be realigned into 7 mega regions. And here are the regions. All right, it says the Pacific Coast region, the Inland West, that's there in orange, Pacific Coast in green. All right, the Great Plains in blue, the Southern Manufacturing Belt in purple in the southeast there, the Gulf Coast in pink, the Great Lakes in green over there, and the Great Northeast in yellow. And what they are talking about is segmenting the infrastructure in these regions, so you are only allowed to use your carbon credits in these regions. So your carbon credits now become regional carbon credits, because they're saying, hey, the way we're going to offset this is you're using the electricity in this region. So the tokens that you get, the carbon allowances, will be regionally locked, and you will only be able to use them for certain providers. All right, it's like Duke Energy's running the Southeast manufacturing belt over there. It's like your carbon credits, your carbon allowances are programmed to only be spent at Duke Energy, and that's kind of how it is, and you only get a certain amount. And if you've been in any situation where you have to ration water or electricity, I've been in situations where you have to take very quick showers. You have to take 5-minute showers. All right, it's kind of a skill just to learn how to do these things and to ration water. All right, ration electricity. I've lived off grid in my RV with a generator for years and giant water tanks. All right, it's a skill to ration electricity, to turn the generator off, to not overload things. All right, you're gonna have to be thinking about it. When you live off grid, you're always thinking, oh, you don't want to have the AC on and the microwave on, it's going to overload your system. All right, you're always thinking about these little things, and it's going to be like that, but for everything. You're going to be rationing every little thing. Even right now, making this video, I'm going to be thinking, oh, I should have the brightness halfway down on my computer because it'll save more battery time. That is the future that they're setting us up for, where it's all rationed, right? And it's regionally locked as well, and it will become a luxury to travel to these other regions, to go to these other mega regions. You will have to have allowances to go there, and you will only be allowed to go there certain times a year, certain amounts a year, only once or twice a year. So if your family lives in a different region, all right, grandma and grandpa, the grandkids, whatever, your brother and sister, they live in a different region, you're only going to be allowed to see them once or twice a year. All right, that's what they're pushing right now in mainstream news on CNN and trying to normalize this. And they've been talking about this for months. I've been covering this. If you guys have been watching my videos, please hit it up for me down there too, by the way, to help get it out. And if you've heard me talk about this before, you know this is something they're trying to normalize this. And if you've never heard of this story as well too, hit it up down there. All right, I'm always posting every day, posting new stories that nobody else is talking about. All right, trying to break these stories. And if you follow me, you will get a lot of these stories broke before you hear them anywhere else. And also, very soon we are going to be on our homestead. Within days, we're going to be on our homestead. Our chickens are finally going to be able to run free on our homestead. All right, the garden is going to be going. Everything is going to be full steam ahead, because this system is being set up right now, and you need to be getting as self-sustainable and self-sufficient as possible, growing your own food. I'm going to be showing you guys all the hacks, all the tips, all the garden tips to grow the mega tomatoes, to get the best lettuce, the best carrots, the best cucumbers. All right, I'm going to be showing you guys all that stuff and bringing you guys the news at the same time, because it goes together. All right, let this stuff motivate you. Let this stuff motivate you. I don't really get scared or worried about things. I don't really get scared. Maybe I get anxious about it, about something happened, but I don't really get scared. All right, whenever I see things, it just confirms that I need to go harder. I need to get more prepared. I need to be prepping even more, get even more stocked up. All right, get even more skills under my belt and in my mind. Get books. All right, because if the power goes out, all the online information, it's great, but it's not going to be available if the power is out for a prolonged amount of time. And if you have those books, you have those gardening books, those cooking books, those canning books, those baking books, those gardening books. If you have all these books, you will have the knowledge there already, and you won't be scrambling to figure it out. And that's why experience is so important as well. I've gardened for years. I did farmers markets for years and years. That was kind of like my first self-employed job that I was able to do. My first kind of gig that I figured out was selling vegetables, right? And I've been off grid in my RV for a few years after that. Once all this stuff hit, we kind of left, right? Our place kind of, that market kind of fell apart. Nobody was going to farmers markets. Nobody was going to restaurants. It kind of just flopped, right? The market just kind of dried up overnight. So we left. We went to go live off grid in our RV so we could live cheap, right? This is the stuff that you need to be psychologically preparing yourself with. These skills, rationing. What's the longest you've ever gone without taking a shower? I know that sounds kind of crazy, but these are the things you really need to be thinking about, because it's these little things that might break you when it really hits the fan, right? When the stuff's really implemented. They're already implementing water rationing, all right? Water rationing is going to be a part of this as well. And they're already talking about how water heaters are extremely bad. You're going to have limited hot showers, all this stuff. They're talking about banning furnaces for your homes. Okay, Biden just took over. He declared his wartime powers, and he just took over all of the manufacturing in the US, all right? And he's forcing manufacturers to not produce any type of gas furnaces or wood burning furnaces, and he's forcing it all to be electric furnaces. He's literally using wartime powers from 50 years ago, maybe 70 years ago. I don't remember off the top of my head. These powers are very old and obscure, and they're being activated right now to take over the economy and force the production offline of all these different things that are part of this agenda, all right, to stifle your consumption and to limit what you can use, how much electricity you can use. Because once everything is on electricity, it can be cut off with a switch, all right? Cut off with a switch. They can't cut off your wood stove that you are burning wood in. They can't cut it off. They can't really cut off your propane, because there's all these different natural gas companies that are doing their own projects and delivering it straight to you, right? But the power grid is very centralized. There are regions, but it is centralized, and they will be able to control everything with the smart meter system that is already in place. The smart meters are already on every single home. Okay, they are terrible potentially for your health, all right? Just the EMF radiation, because they communicate from very high-powered signals that are sent back and forth, all right? Instead of having a meter guy go out and check your meter, they just blast a signal using your own meter to Duke Energy or whatever your power company is. It just blasts the data to them, and those things could be right on your bed. Your headboard could be on the other side of it, all right? And it's constantly, and these smart meters also as well are constantly able to figure out what you are using, okay? Because everything has different wattages. So everything has different starting watts and running watts. So if your AC needs 5,000 starting watts to get going, or 10,000, whatever it needs, depends on the size of your house, it knows. It's like, okay, there was a 10,000 surge watt. That was the AC, and now it's running at 5,000 steadily. That's the AC. The smart meter measures all that and records all that data, and it knows what you're using. It's like, oh, the fridge is running at a consistent 800 watts. It's using that's the fridge. Like it knows what everything is. The smart meter, it uses AI to figure out exactly what appliances you're using. And this has been going on for years, where they can break down on your bill what you're using. It's like, oh, your AC used this much, and your electric stove uses this much. This has been out for years. I remember seeing this stuff like 5 years ago. All right, I haven't really had an electricity bill in like 3 years, so I'm kind of out of the loop on that. But I remember seeing that like 5 years ago. All right, but they're gonna use that technology to cut it off. It's like, all right, the AC has been on for 10 minutes. That's enough. That's enough. That's it. You're cut off for the day. You're only going to be allowed to use your appliances for certain amounts throughout the day, and you're going to have carbon credit allowances, and maybe you can just burn through them all at once, and then you can't use your AC the rest of the month. I'm not sure how it's going to be set up, but it'll probably just be daily credits and daily allowances, and they will probably just disappear. All right, so if you don't use them that day, they will probably just be gone. All right, that's another part of this CBDC that they're working on programming, is that the money will disappear eventually. All right, they're programming it so it's only good for 6 months. The money in your account's only good for a year, and if you don't spend it, it gets locked out. It disappears. That's how they're proposing a lot of these central bank digital currencies right now. And they're saying it'll be a way to get rid of inflation. Certain accounts will be protected, okay, but average accounts, like everyday spending accounts, things like that, certain accounts will be targeted where the money will expire, and then the savings accounts you will only be able to access once a month or every 6 months or whatever the limit is. That won't just be unlimited access to that. All right, so make sure you are getting prepared. Make sure you're getting stocked up. If you're still here in the deep end of this, you are a real one. You know what's up. You know what's going on. You know what's coming. And you know that you need to be getting ready. All right, so please hit it up for me down there. I appreciate that, you guys. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family. You guys have truly blessed me. All the love throughout the years, I appreciate it. All you guys, everyone. I remember the people that I comment on. I remember you guys. That's me responding, even going years back. I remember you guys, and I appreciate it. All right, so thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.